I think we are live. So we'll just give it a few minutes just to see if we get a few folks to come in here, and we will go from there. Again, I did not schedule this or anything. I'm not real sure yet exactly how it's going to work out for us when it comes to that. Let me make sure that I'm not overriding any volume, which is something that I could have easily done. So, Sunday night chat. Thinking that that might be a time period when I start having some of these. And, who knows? We'll see how it goes. Just trying to pull up some of a few things just to make sure everything is working the way that it should. And let's just see where we are. Hope everybody's had a good week. And I just thought that I would jump on here to this chat for a bit. We're going to see here. I'm just going to share this link out, maybe bring a few more folks in, and we'll go from there. Any of you guys seen some of the stuff that's been going on in the news lately? Any of you guys bought any interesting toys lately? Let me know down in the comments. So, we'll get started tonight by just basically talking about some of the stuff that's been going on. I hope everybody had a good Sunday and has had a good weekend so far. And I hope that, y'all won't be too busy this week. Hopefully everything will be good. And y'all have an easy, enjoyable week. And currently this video is being dual streamed. I am streaming it both to YouTube as well as Rumble. For you guys that follow me over on Rumble as well, I mean, that's someplace that has a little more freedom than what YouTube does. But, it just takes time to get stuff like this built up. And I know that one of my biggest things is I need to start announcing these. I was actually thinking about it earlier today about potentially announcing the stream, but then I didn't. I had other things going on. I actually had to do some chores and go from there. But you know how things go. I mean, that's just part of it. You get busy. You get trying to get caught up on everything that you got to do around home, or at least I do. And I had some brush I've been trying to burn up, and other things like that. I did get to the range yesterday for a little while and had some fun, and I actually had my Canik MC9 Prime out for a while, and I'm actually going to be doing another video on it at some point. I did record some B-roll for it, but I still got to put the video together. For those of you guys who are interested in the Canik MC9 Primes, those are a cool little firearm. It looks like we've got a couple of us watching on Rumble. Say hello. Let me know who we have here. I'd like to hear from you. I'd like to know who's there. Be sure to drop me a comment, guys. We're here to have a conversation, not just, me blabbing on everything. So yeah, let's have a conversation. And so who do we have there? We're just a few minutes in, so we're really just getting started. So let me know who we have. Just put your name down in the comments. And I'm still trying to get a lot of this stuff worked out as far as the stream, as far as what we're going to be doing. I don't really have any topics, any of anything in particular. I just wanted to come on here and chat and just see who all is here and who all might be interested in just hanging out for a while. You know, it's Sunday night, and here we are into October. And I think that's, you know, this week or this year has just flown by. Already getting to the point of Halloween just around the corner. And then it will be Thanksgiving, Christmas. Time flies when you're having fun. So that's just part of it. So what is some of the plans that you guys have for this season, Halloween, for fall? Anybody going on any hay rides or anything? Anybody going to be spending some time at the range? Let me know, guys. Leave me a comment down below. Still trying to figure out some of the stuff as far as all of the streaming features. And there's a lot that I don't know. I know that there's a lot of folks that are able to do some pretty elaborate things when they do their streams. And I'm just trying to figure it out. This is new to me. Didn't have an internet connection that was fast enough until recently, and now that I have it, I've been wanting to play with it and try to figure it out and get some things working and just have fun with it. You know, that's what a good big part of it is just having some fun and just enjoying it, guys. I'm just going to push this out to a few more places. If any of you guys are out there watching, go ahead and just share the URL for this video, and let's see if we can get a few more folks in here. And anytime y'all want, jump in. Church hayride. Yeah, that's going to be something fun whenever that happens. I'm going to see if I can get a few more folks in here. I'm going to post a link to this just to see if we have anybody else that's wanting to join us. I see we got a couple, and I know that it would benefit me if I would announce these ahead of time. The problem is just time. It's just on me. I wasn't real sure exactly when I was going to have time to jump in here. So I just decided just to literally walk downstairs and jump in and see what is going on. So let's just push this out. And I know there's ways of dual streaming at other places, and I figured out how to do it to a couple of places. Like I say, I've got it to where I can stream to Rumble and YouTube, and it may be some other point, maybe some other sites. I don't really know yet. Again, I'm still trying to learn some of this. And I've seen where there have been some interesting things happening lately. There was one news story from Portland. There was a guy that had defended himself, and if you watch the video, that it was quite clear it was a self-defense case. Unfortunately, the police out there didn't see it that way, and they ended up arresting him also. And you know, that's one of the things that I've talked about before on my channel, is the criminalization of self-defense, and I think that is something that is unfortunate. I think it's something that we're seeing too much of. You know, you should not decide or have to decide between defending yourself, protecting yourself, and then, spending time in jail. It's just, that's just all there is to it. And what are your guys' thoughts? I know there's a few of you in here. I can see you guys here on Rumble. See a couple of you. Drop your name down in the comments. Just let me know who it is. Just say hi. and let's just go from there. I'm curious about who we have here. Hey, Rumble is one of those sites that I really like what they do. They are a little more free speech friendly, and that's why I support Rumble, and I have my videos on Rumble as well. Hey, Terry, how's it going, my man? I see you there. Glad you made it. I had intended on announcing this earlier as far as a time frame. I'm still trying to work out when a good schedule would be. I'm just, the way my schedule works, it's just insane. So, but I plan on, figuring it out. I plan on figuring it out, and we will over time. But anyways, Terry, if you're just jumping in, what we've been talking about, I've just kind of been rambling mostly, but one of the things that I've been talking about was there was a case out in Portland where a guy on camera was attacked, and he protected himself from the attacker, but unfortunately the police out there ended up arresting him also. And I think that's an absolute shame. And I mean, I know that there's a lot of craziness that goes on out there, but what we see, unfortunately, in too many of these cases is the criminalization of self-defense. People should not have to decide between defending themselves and spending time in jail. I mean, that's just an unfortunate reality. I did get to spend some time at the range, as I'd mentioned earlier. I was out with my Canik MC9 Prime again. I hadn't had it out in a little while. I wanted to get it out and shoot it, and just had some fun with it. And I actually got some B-roll for a video, and that I'll be doing a video on in the near future. And we'll see what's going on there. But what do you got going on, Terry? Talk to me. What have you been doing this week? Had any big plans? Had any big plans this weekend for this week? Let me know down in the comments. We're here to have a conversation. And I know that there's things that I can't do on the chats. I can't handle any firearms just because YouTube's rules, which I get it. That's just their rules. And, there have been some people that have done some pretty bad things on here. And, I get it as far as why they don't want to let you do that. But at the same time, they get a little bit overly strict, in my opinion. Some things. We're dual streaming. We have both Rumble and YouTube up. And the channel has been growing tremendously lately. I've been noticing it in my analytics that a lot of the videos that I've had on my channel that have been very slow on getting views are actually starting to pick up as far as the view count. And I'm real glad to see that. Yeah, I see that. We're, Portland police, some of the stuff they're doing out there, it is nuts. I don't think that anybody should be charged with a crime simply for protecting themselves. But unfortunately, we see it far too often. Far too often. And it's unfortunate. Yeah, they're sending a bunch of troops into California. And I think they're sending them in, a few places. I know there's a bunch of stuff going on right now. They're going to be sending them into Chicago and several of those cities. And it's a shame that you've got the governments of those places that are fighting so hard to protect criminals. It will be different if, this was some type of an abuse of power. But reality is law enforcement should be the ones out there protecting the people. And I think that what we're seeing up there is it's very clear that, the government up there in some of these cities are protecting the criminals more than they are, the people of the city. It's nuts. And they do it deliberately. If you look up some of these communist revolutions that have happened in the past, and you always see where they release prisoners. And the reason that they do that is because they try to deliberately cause disorder, and that's one of their tactics. When they cause disorder like that, it basically breaks the will of the people, and it gives the leftists, the communists, the revolutionaries, whatever you want to call them, it gives them more power. And finally it gets to the point that the people demand that something gets done, and then that's when the author that crazy word I can't say, authoritarianism or whatever it is, however you say it, comes into play. And it's unfortunate, but those people, they need to, shouldn't have to take federal government going in. The local law enforcement should do that. The local police should go in and protect their communities, but they're being ordered not to. And a lot of that goes back to the politicians and the insanity that some of these politicians do. But, who knows? I mean, why do they do a lot of the things that they do? I can't really explain it, but that's just part of it, I guess. You never know what goes on in people's heads. But, you been out to the range lately, Terry? Have you had a chance to go to the gun range any? Well, I was fortunate enough to go out for a little while yesterday and do a bit of shooting, and just enjoy the afternoon. It's been nice. The weather has been nice around here. I think the photo that I threw up as the thumbnail for this is it doesn't do it justice. It's just been nice. Earlier this afternoon, I had a bunch of brush I was burning up, and so you went yesterday. Okay. What guns you take? I'm just curious. I'm curious what you took. I'm wanting to get some of my 1911s out again. I'm wanting to do some shooting with them. There's a couple of them that I haven't had out in a while that I want to get out. I want to get them back out and shoot them a bit. And yeah, I may do a video on them. But believe it or not, I do go down and shoot sometimes without taking my camera. Again, I like to shoot. I'm hoping that the first of the year that we're going to see some changes, which I know we are, with suppressors, because there's a couple of suppressors that I want to get my hands on. I want to get my hands on a 30 cal to go on like my 308s, and I want to get my hands on one for 9 mil. And those are the two other suppressors that I'm wanting to get, because I'm wanting to go out and take out some of my other rifles and put suppressors on them. Got something hung in my throat. Your Taurus, that's a good pistol. Yeah, those are good pistols. My wife's got one. I've got one of the older ones, and then I've had several people that have taken my concealed carry classes that they've brought them, and they're good guns. I mean, there's nothing wrong with Taurus. Taurus has done a lot, I think, when some of the stuff that they've done. And actually, one of the 1911s that I've been thinking about getting out is my Taurus 1911. I hadn't had it out in a while, and it doesn't have the super tight finish like a lot of them out there, but it's a good gun. There's different. Some people like them, some people don't, but it's just like anything else. But there's nothing wrong with Taurus guns. I've got a few. I did have with a Taurus Judge that I've got, and I guess you could probably say it was my fault. I had a big Magnum shell in it once that seemed to cause an issue. Well, it was a few of them, admittedly. And basically what had happened, for whatever reason, the trigger locked up. But Taurus, with their warranty, I took it to a friend of mine's gun store. He sent it off for me, and they repaired it, sent it back, and not had any problems with it since. But it's a Taurus Judge. It's one of the Judge Magnum, the original Taurus Judge Magnum, which, when it first come out, I remember I was trying to find one and looked everywhere, could not find one. And a friend of mine who owned a gun store, that he was able to find me one. He'd been looking around for a while, and he found one, and I had him to order it for me. Yeah, I've got a few of the Tauruses. They're great guns. There's nothing wrong with them. I remember like the Taurus 92, which, if you're an old 1980s action movie fan, the Berettas. And when the Taurus come out, the Taurus 92. I mean, that was one that people that couldn't afford a Beretta would get that, and the Taurus 92 is a great gun. And I've still got it. Actually, it was several years ago. I remember doing a video that was like 15-year review or something like that on my Taurus, PT92. It's still on my channel. I don't think YouTube has deleted it yet. Nice. Yeah, the G3, the G2s, the whole series of them are great. And actually, the revolvers recently are starting to get a lot of notoriety too. And I've not had a chance to shoot one of the revolvers, but they're coming up in the world. They're coming up. They've got a bunch of nice stuff coming, that they've got out there. And I keep bumping my camera. I'm using my webcam on my laptop, or I should say I've got a small web camera sitting on my laptop, and every time if I bump it, whatever, it jumps. So that's why you're seeing some of that stuff. But okay, we've got somebody over on Rumble. Yeah, yes, I know I can do it on Rumble, and maybe at some point I may do some streams focusing just on Rumble instead of just a dual stream. We'll see. I don't really know. It's possible. I think that again, Rumble. I am real glad that Rumble is doing what they're doing. They're a lot more free speech oriented, and I wish YouTube would get back to it. I think that they have been doing some changes lately. And simply because of the fact that, again, I've had some of my older videos that have been up for a while. It seems for whatever reason, I mean, they're just starting to, get a lot of views, and I'm glad of that. Rumble, I've not really gotten a whole lot of views on Rumble until recently. It's taken forever, and I know that Rumble doesn't have the audience yet that YouTube does, but it's growing. And I think that YouTube is basically doing everything they can to destroy their own platform. The channels are growing over there. I think that Rumble is pretty much dominating right now for a lot of the live stuff. If you're doing live videos like this, that I think that Rumble is really starting to take over. And yeah, it's good to see. It's good to see some competition because of the fact that YouTube is they've gone nuts. With the censorship, it's unfortunate. But yeah, I really think that YouTube, with what they're doing, they're hurting themselves. It wasn't necessarily a riot. I've seen some of the news reports on it. It got a little crazy down there from what I've seen. There's a guy on YouTube, or actually a couple of them, that I watch. One was the Gatlinburg Hussy. I don't know if you've ever heard of his channel, but he had some videos from down in there to where he was showing some, some of the stuff that was going on. And, he had basically what it is, you had a car show down there, and some of them, it was just getting too rowdy. I've been down there before for car shows. When I was younger, we used to go down there to the Mini Trucking Nationals years ago, to a lot of the Chevy shows, to the Ford shows, and a bunch of those shows down there. But some of the stuff and yeah, you always seen some craziness go on, but some of the videos that I've seen of what happened recently, it was just insane, and I don't blame the people down there for throwing a fit. Let me get a drink of water. Yeah, people are moving over slowly from YouTube to Rumble, and I hope it continues. I'll be honest with you. Especially with, for one thing, Google, YouTube, they have got a stranglehold on the internet, and that is why there's so much just nonsense. it is so hard to start a channel, which, depending on what it is, you're at the mercy of the algorithm. And even with Rumble, you have certain things there as well, but it is much better. YouTube, I remember when it was a lot better. When I first started my channel here, YouTube was the place to be. I mean, you had a lot of guys out there doing stuff. You had FPS Russia. I'm sure everybody out there remembers FPS Russia. I mean, the man owned YouTube for the longest time. I mean, he ruled YouTube. And because of everything that had been done, everybody remembers the adpocalypse and stuff like that. It just pretty much decimated ever so many channels out there. You had a bunch of people that lost their channels. And recently, I know that basically they have given some people back their channels, videos that they have deleted from people's channels. They have gone in and restored some of those. And I think that, YouTube is starting to get the message. People they're sick of it. They still have a large enough audience. There's still a large enough people there that are on YouTube. But at the same time, the way that they're doing it, they're basically destroying their own platform. In fact, I was watching a guy who focuses just on technology. He's not a gun channel or anything like that. And he had... wasn't a gun channel, it was just all the tech channel. I was just checking a message from somebody. And he was talking about YouTube and all their censorship. In fact, he was actually talking about Hickok 45. That was something that had caught his attention, was a video that he just happened to come across to where it was Hickok, one of his older videos, talking about where YouTube was going to be going in and where they were censoring his channel. And even for a while, he was off the air and stuff. And this guy's like, why? And again, he is a tech guy, tech channel. And then he brought in a few more instances and examples of how YouTube was going in and basically banning people, hitting their channels for whatever reason. And basically just he just said it flat out, they're destroying their own channel. And it's nuts. I'm glad you are subscribed over there, Terry. I appreciate it. That really does help. I'm trying to grow it there as well. I've got, I think it's a little more like 1,600 subscribers on Rumble, and I'm over 51,000 on YouTube. So, it's a difference, and there's a lot of other folks over there on Rumble. Actually, that are not on YouTube anymore just because of YouTube's policies. They've destroyed destroying their own platform. But I'm sure it'll continue once it gets to the point. And here's what I think will happen. If it gets to the point that it's split, then that's kind of a good thing for content creators, for video creators, because YouTube will be forced to basically pull back on some of the stuff. Because if Rumble keeps growing, it could easily take over. I'm not going to say it would, but there's the potential. And I'm not going to say years ago, but up until recently, what you could do with Rumble until YouTube stopped it, you could actually go in and when you would upload a video to YouTube, you could have it to automatically import to Rumble. And, unfortunately, a while back, YouTube changed that because I got to noticing that none of my videos were populating over on Rumble. They were not importing, so I got into my settings and looked, and then sure enough, they've got a thing on the site that basically says that YouTube had shut down that ability for them to be able to import. And that's kind of an indication there that, hey, wait a minute, these guys are starting to get a little more attention than we expected. And you've got a lot of guys out there now. When Dan Bongino, before he was assistant FBI director, his show on Rumble is larger than what it is on YouTube. He had a lot larger following on Rumble than he did on YouTube, because YouTube, they were threatening to kick him off, and he's like, yeah, go for it. I don't care. I got more people over on Rumble than I do YouTube anyways. And then they didn't. So, that's kind of a big deal there. Not to mention, it's in the news that here, I think it was this week, where the courts, YouTube is paying a big settlement to Trump for them deleting his channel. So I think that's good. Yep, they're definitely afraid of the competition, and that's a good thing for us. That's a real good thing for us. The more fearful they are of the competition, the better. I'm just kind of laying back in my chair a little bit, guys. That's probably why I'm shrinking, or look like I'm shrinking. Let me pull that camera up a little. There again, I'm just trying to relax, hang out. Last week I was sick. It's a case of the Kentucky crud. Head was stopped up, couldn't breathe, coughing and hacking, all that kind of stuff. And finally started getting over it. We're up to 5 people on Rumble. Y'all say hi. Let me know who I got here. I'm curious about who is in here with us. I'm glad to see you all. Welcome to the live stream, depending on when you jumped in. Again, guys, these live streams, I haven't scheduled them in advance. I'm sure that at some point I will try to start doing that, and I just hadn't done it yet. But I do want to try to grow the live streams and bring more people in. And there I go hitting with the thing. Hunting and stuff. Yep. Hello. I see you there. I'm just sitting here chatting, just reading through some of the comments. We have somebody in here from Alaska over on Rumble. How are you doing? I have a question for you. You may or may not know what the reference is. Good grief, I just looked to see what I'm looking like now on this. And can you see Russia from your house? I was just curious. I know that's something that come up back several years ago in the political sphere. I was just curious about it. Alaskan Ballistics is your neighbor. Tell him I said hello. He's probably never heard of me, but I'm sure that him being your neighbor, tell him I said hello. Now here's a question for you. If you live in Alaska, what gun do you carry? Because up there, I'm sure with some of the critters that you guys running around, that you guys are going to need something that can stop things, if you know what I mean. You can see Russia from Alaska, I'm sure. Yeah, that was a thing back years ago. What was it? I think it was Sarah Palin, John McCain, or something like that, when they run. That was a Saturday Night Live skit, and it kind of took off, and that was where that come from, for any of you guys that didn't know. All right, we got a few more folks joining us now, and I'm glad to see that. I'm going to pull my chat screen over here. Again, I've got a couple of windows open here, and I'm trying to actually go back and forth on the chats from YouTube and Rumble. A G40 or a 460, very nice. I've got a G20, and the reason I bought it is I wanted a good 10 millimeter, and the G20 was one that I knew with, I think it's the Alaska State Police, is that right? They carry the G20s and the G40s, and there again, I like Glocks. They're reliable, so I grabbed one. And it's been, was it last year sometime, a little over, I don't remember exactly, maybe a couple of years. And with videos on my channel, you guys know, and that's another one. I had it out a while back, 10 millimeter, man, that's a hard hitting round. I like shooting it. It's not a cheap ammo, though. That ammo is not cheap, especially if you're going to get the full power stuff. I know you can get some of the stuff that's loaded down to like basically 40 S&W, but when you get that full power 10 millimeter, you pay for that. That stuff is not cheap. Yeah, it's good. Alaska, what's your temperature outside right now? I hadn't looked at the weather from everywhere. I know around here we're running around 80 degrees outside. Alaska State Troopers carry the G20s. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I'd heard it was the G20s and the G40s. It was the two that I'd heard that they were carrying. Your brother-in-law bought one, a G20? Yeah. Franklin County deputy, tell him to be careful out there. I hear news stories about some of the stuff that happens up there. You know, I know anytime in law enforcement, there's a lot, especially in this day and age, and a lot of it depends on the region, the places where you live. I don't think that Kentucky is as bad as some places, but yeah, tell him to be careful out there. 53 degrees and raising a little. We have been getting down to I think the mid 60s here. I know wintertime is coming. I just got a text from my wife. She told me to sit up straight, that it looked like I was shrinking. I'm just trying to get comfortable. Oh, me. All right, I'll sit up straight. She'll be fussing at me later about it. Get this microphone up here. I've been wanting to figure out something different on my setup here, and eventually I will. But, yeah, oh well, that part of it. Yeah, it's here. I haven't even looked at the outside temperatures yet. Let me look, see what it is outside here. Of course, it is nowhere near it. We don't get nowhere near as cold as you guys up there do. Right now we're at 74 degrees outside. So that's where we're at. And it's nice out. Of course, the sun has gone down now, but I was out earlier. I had to burn up some trash, burn up some brush, and man, it was nice. It was real nice. I just got outside and, just enjoying the day. Getting close to freezing in the mornings, I'm sure. Yeah, here you never know how weather does, but, we're nowhere near it yet, but it's coming, and I am a big fan of fall. I love fall. I am not the biggest fan of winter, especially if I have to drive in it. In fact, if the weather's bad, I just stay at home. I don't get out unless I just absolutely have to. And it's not necessarily as much about me driving on the snow. I don't mind driving on the snow myself as much as it is everybody else, because unfortunately there's a lot of people around here that cannot drive when the roads are slick. I mean, that's just the reality of it. And I've had a couple of close calls. I was coming back from work. It's been several years ago now, but there was a woman that passed me on the parkway, and the roads were slick, and she came around me just way too fast in a big Ford Expedition. And by the time she got beside me, it was already just wiggling. You could see it. And I just eased off of the gas, just kind of eased over into the rumble strips just to get away from her. And sure enough, when she got on up in front of me, she lost it. Went completely around, and if I hadn't started slowing down prior to that, I would have T-boned her. I mean, that one was the one that rattled me a bit, just because I come so close to hitting her, just because she was just trying to go too fast. And there was a semi behind me and a full-size Chevrolet behind me. And the guy that was in the semi was in the left lane, behind me, and the guy in the full-size Chevrolet was directly behind me. And me and him both were worried about what that semi was doing, because he liked to not got it stopped. He did, fortunately, but I mean, that bed and that trailer and that cab, they were not sitting in perfect alignment. Let's just put it that way. By the time he got stopped, but scary times. So that's one of the reasons why I don't care about driving in slick roads. Just because of what everybody else does. Change the studded tires. Yeah, I've looked at that, getting some better tires here. Usually the snows around here, occasionally we will have a good snow and it'll last for a few days. It really depends. Our winters here are not usually real bad, but some are worse than others. But when you get it to where it's days on end, there's absolutely no way that I would even think about getting out. You drove a semi for 19 years, Terry. You've seen some stuff if you was on the road that long. Yeah, you have definitely seen some stuff. I got a few free friends that have drove trucks or still drive trucks. Y'all get snow early, September 15th or so. Yeah, usually here you don't really see snows until, well, anymore. I mean, last several years it's been at least into December before we would see any snow. And I remember when I was a kid, it seems like during Halloween we would get some. Yeah, Georgia. Yeah, you get in the South. The South is not used to seeing snow. And when you put snow in the South, things get interesting. Okay, that's just all there is to it. You get people down there that are used to driving on, non-slick roads. Let's just put it that way. And you put them on snowy roads, slick roads, and you're going to see accidents. Yeah, it seems like when I was a kid that I remember having some early snows. I don't know if up, that early as far as Halloween. I remember it being pretty cold on Halloween, but I don't really think it's ever really snowed. Maybe I could be wrong. Maybe some flurries or something. I remember Thanksgiving before, having snow on Thanksgiving, but never really as early as Halloween. Halloween is kind of a mixed bag. Some years it's hot, some years it's cold. I remember when the kids were little, taking them out trick-or-treating and wearing a jacket, and it'd be cool out. And then other times other years you take them out trick-or-treating, and then you're sweating, wearing shorts and a short-sleeve shirt, sweating. And, but that's how things go. That's the weather. But I could just imagine up there in Alaska. I was watching it was a channel, I don't remember who it was, but it was like a homesteading channel in Alaska. And they didn't get out. I mean, they literally, for like a couple of months each year where they were living at, they said that they basically had to stock up on everything that they would need. And that was it. They did not get out after that. I mean, they showed them, their trip into town basically to pick a couple of months supply up. And I think they said it was a couple of hours drive for them just to get to town. And they loaded up. They had some kind of was it like a Subaru Outback or something? It was a all-wheel drive vehicle, and they got everything loaded up. And I mean, literally, they said that that's all that they could, that's what they have to live with for like a couple of months, just like when the snow and stuff moves in. South Central, yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, I don't remember where these people were from, what part of Alaska they were from, but it was a good long drive. I want to say that I don't really remember. It was Anchorage. I don't really remember where they had to drive to get some supplies. But I mean, it was like a couple of day trip for them. They would drive out, go around to the different stores, stock up on things, and I think they actually spent the night there and then drove back the next day. And but there again, it was just how you do. You're scrolling YouTube and you see a video, it's like that's interesting, and you just click on it and see what's going on. But part of the fun, part of the fun. How does the audio and everything sound? I'm just curious. You guys let me know down in the comments. I'm just curious how everything is sounding and looking and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, I'm just curious to how it is all going. Yeah, I'm wanting to get some different stuff as far as my background. I've seen where some folks had like some different lighting and stuff like that, and I want to do that here too. Yeah, I'm glad that it comes through. The audio settings are have been a challenge for me. I was literally looking last night trying to figure out some of the audio stuff. There's times that I just don't like the way that it sounds, and I go in and try to make some adjustments to clean it up a bit. And I don't have a super expensive microphone. 7 people. Hey, glad to see you all. We got 5 on. We got 6. Okay, I'm up to 6 on Rumble. 7 on YouTube, 6 on Rumble. So, hello to every one of you. But, and I'm going to try to figure out when a good schedule will be. It's just that it's extremely hard to know, because just the chaos of work schedule and things like that. But I do want to try to get it to become more common as far as when I do live chats. And my eventual goal is to get to the point to where I have a lot more time to focus on YouTube and my websites and stuff like that. This is a part-time thing for me that eventually one of these days I hope to turn into a full-time thing. I would love to be able to. With your all's help, share my videos. It really helps. And that's something that I do notice. I was looking in some of my analytics, and I'm telling you guys, when you guys share my videos, it helps tremendously. Just like I've talked about, some of the censorship, some of the restrictions that YouTube has, especially anything firearms related or anything like that, they absolutely hate them. And when people take the URL for one of my videos and then share it, it really does help drive that viewership. Trust me. I see it in the analytics. I've got it in the analytics to where it shows me exactly where, when people are, where the links are being shared, where it really does help. If I put a video out there, and I always try to tell people, ask them to share the video and all that kind of stuff, like and share the video. And when you guys share that video in the analytics, I can see it where it shows the views that I get from like external sources, to where you guys have shared it on your social media, and it helps tremendously, guys. I'm telling you, that is not something that is just a hearsay thing. Trust me, it works. I see it in my analytics, and I'm glad that it does. I'm glad that it works out that way. In fact, let me just jump over real quick. I'm going to try to see what I can tell about it. Let's see what we have here. When I look in some of my analytics, I'm trying to jump in to see. I'm just kind of scrolling through some of my analytics while I'm sitting here talking with you guys, and just going through and looking to see where the views are coming in from. And and there I can see it here, guys. I mean, you guys, when you share those, it really does help. And for those of you guys, another thing too, if you're not subscribed, please subscribe, because again, I'm looking at my analytics here and I see that 96% of the folks that watch my channel are not subscribed. So please subscribe. That stuff does help with the algorithm, as much as YouTube hates it, but it's a good thing, that you guys are here, that if y'all are into firearms, or if you just like hanging out and talking to some nut from Kentucky. But, I'm glad that all of you all are here. But yeah, so it really does help. So any other topics on your all's mind? Questions? Anybody got any questions or anything? Open it up for you all. I've been just sitting here blabbing, and I want to give you guys a chance to talk, to ask questions or whatever. So yeah, if you guys have any questions, because there again, I'm going to try to figure out, there again, I'm still figuring out some of the stuff when it comes to live streams. I think it's a nice feature. I like being able to live stream now. I'm telling you, we went for many years with terrible internet, and we finally have internet connection that is much, much better now. So, and finally having a chance to where I can actually come on here and live stream and talk to people. So yeah, it's good that we're able to. And I hope to keep it going. I hope to continue it. This stuff is fun. It's work, but it's fun. What kind of hunting do you do around here? Well, the big thing for this area is deer hunting. When you get into the fall of the year, deer hunting, white-tailed deer, man, that's what everybody goes out to do. And you got people that will take vacation just to go deer hunting. And, in fact, I work with a few people. I haven't been since I was a kid. I've been wanting to get back into it, but literally I'm working continuously. And then what little time I get where I'm not working, I'm sleeping. But yeah, deer hunting is a big thing. That is possibly the biggest hunting around here. And we do have other kinds of hunting sports. You've got squirrel hunting. When I was a kid, I used to squirrel hunt, rabbit hunting, and those are probably the most popular. Varmint hunting. I know that's something that even now I'll get out with a rifle or something every now and then, like for coyotes and stuff like that. And there again, that's year-round season on that. And so that's a common one. But deer hunting is especially. I used to have some neighbors over where we used to live at, and they took care of their deer. I mean, they had a huge feed plot put out for them, and those deer were hefty. I mean, they were well fed, and they looked it. But every year during deer season, they take them, they tag out. And, that was their thing. They absolutely love deer hunting, and there's a lot of people around here like that. And, it's getting close to, that cooler weather and stuff. And where I live at, I mean, I've got pictures, and you guys, if you've seen some of my videos, I've got videos of deer just literally right behind me, out on the video. I'd be outside and just recording something, and sure enough, there'd be deer in the background. And this farm that we live on, we bought. Yeah, it's several years ago now, and we bought this farm. It was a hunter's paradise. And the deer out here, I mean, it's amazing. The big bucks, they like to hide, but they're around here. But yeah, that's the big thing around in this area is deer hunting. There are a few folks that will do coon hunting. In fact, it wasn't long the other night. I actually heard sound like somebody was running some dogs then back over on kind of in that direction from where I'm sitting. And, they were out running some dogs. But, it's just kind of some of the stuff that people do around here. Fishing, a lot of fishing going on. Got a pond down here on my property, and got it stocked with catfish. And I never get time to go down to it. But yeah, that's another big thing. In fact, some friends of ours, they've got an outdoor store. You guys have seen them on channel before. And right now, I mean, man, people are loading up on all kinds of, turkey. A lot of turkey hunting goes on around here too. Turkeys around here, depending on where you're at. Usually, I've seen them here in my field, but they are You don't see as many around right here in my field as I do just up the road. I've gone up the road here, and one of my neighbors' fields. Look over there. I mean, it's just covered in them, and man, it's something else. But yeah, turkey hunting is another big thing. You got a few duck hunters around. Not as many as deer hunting is probably the biggest if I was to be the judge. And yes, you get turkey hunters as well, but I still think you got a lot more deer hunters than you do turkey hunters. And then you got the true sportsman. I got one buddy of mine that he hunts everything. If it walks, crawls, swims, whatever, he hunts it. And he goes over into Eastern Kentucky, and I know he's not watching now, but I'm going to talk about him anyways. And he will bow hunt for bear. I am not kidding about that. I'm like, man, you got to be kidding me. And I mean, the man will literally bow hunt for bear. And yeah, they'll take a rifle with them. They'll have guns on them too, just in case something doesn't go right. You know what I mean? But I mean, he loves it. I mean, he goes over and hunts for bear, just whatever. I mean, he just goes everywhere. And I'm glad for him. He enjoys. He's a big outdoorsman. But yeah, deer hunting is the biggest around here, I think. But there's a little of everything. You can drive over to Land Between the Lakes. That's another place there where you get a lot of people that go over there and hunt. Down in the park. There's just a lot of stuff that goes on. Yeah, yeah, a lot of deer hunters up there. I'm sure around here too. I think that's the biggest thing around here is deer hunters. And I remember years ago, of course, he's passed on now, so I won't get to the details as far as naming him. But we had a game warden in this area that, when you get certain areas that get an overpopulation of deer and things like that, um, they, everybody says you need to clean them out. I mean, it's all there is to it. And this guy, one thing that he would do, and it was absolutely hilarious, and it would probably have gotten him in trouble. But I remember, like when you would go up to where, people go in to tag in their deer, stuff like that. And there again, this is back years ago. They would go in and tag their, go in for their tags, stuff for their deer. And he would be up there, going weighing, just checking over everybody's stuff, which, most of the time, if somebody goes up there and does something wrong, then there's something mental with them anyways. And anyways, he would always make it known when, like, if there was a part of the county that was heavily overpopulated and the people there wanted it to be thinned out, he would always make it known to everybody exactly where he was going to be. And it was always the opposite of where that overpopulation was, if you know what I mean. And people knew exactly why. I mean, he done that deliberately. And there again, like I say, it's probably something that would have gotten him in trouble these days. But he's passed on now, so that's why I tell that story. But I remember it very well. I mean, he would make it out there and make it known. And then you always had people, like you always do, you always have people that would go in and they would go take more than what they had tags for. I mean, you guys know that. And, they'd take them out of season at times too. And there again, it was just kind of a way of helping to thin them out in some places compared to others. I don't think that you'd see many game wardens do that this day and age, but you never know. But I always thought that was something that was just kind of funny. I'm going to be over here next week, so y'all just remember that if you're going to be in that area. And then the overpopulation be over another side of town, so that's where everybody would go hunt. And it used to be a thing too, where, and I'm sure that it happens everywhere, is you get everybody to go buy a deer tag. I mean, your grandmother, anybody that was not going to deer hunt, you get them to go buy a deer tag for you, and then you go and it was kind of a big thing too. So yeah, it's that was a big thing too. Let me see. How are we doing? I'm just kind of scrolling around looking to see how many people we have here. And we still got a few folks in. And I'm glad, again, guys, I'm glad to see all of you. And many of you all may or may not know, I'm sure that most of you probably do by now, I did shut down my website, Boomstick Tactical Gear. I still own the domain name, but I did shut it down. And the reason that I did that was because of the fact that it just wasn't paying for itself. You know, that was a big thing there. Yeah. Yeah, I've seen a lot of people buying ammo lately. In fact, I bought some myself. But yeah, tis the season. And I wish ammo prices would come back down. I've heard that they're going to be coming back down some, but I haven't seen it yet. But Walmart, forever, I used to buy a lot of ammo from Walmart, especially like when they had handgun ammo there, until they got political, decided to get rid of their handgun ammo, which makes no sense. But, you know, many a white box. Shot many a white box. You don't buy tags for regular season hunts, but pay for chances at limited draw hunts. They have that in some states around here. In fact, I've had a few friends that have gotten into that. You know, especially like in some of the parks. I know they've had like a lottery system that you could sign up for. And then if your number got picked, then you get to go in to hunt some of the parks. Yeah, Walmart cut way back on guns and ammo, and I think it's just ridiculous. I mean, they don't have anything anymore, hardly. And the ammo, especially. I mean, even after they started cutting back on guns, I know they got rid of handguns like many years ago, or at least around here. You can still buy ammo, and I mean, you could go in there and buy good deals on ammo. I mean, goodness, I'd go in there and buy them up, and you know, there was a lot of craziness that went on. There always has been. You know, they would get a rush on ammo just like everybody else, and you know, but people would buy it. You know, I bought a lot of it there. You know, you could buy 100 rounds there for little or nothing, and then the price got, you know, started going nuts. And I think I remember the first time I paid like $12 for 100 rounds of 22 or something. Man, it was just like, what, you know? And 9mm. Oh my goodness, 9mm. I cannot count the number of boxes of 9mm that I went through that I bought at Walmart. Now, they don't sell pistol ammo anywhere as far as I'm aware of. And it's sad. It's real sad. And I forgot when it was. It was several years ago when they quit doing that. And I wish they'd bring it back. You know, they had pistol ammo, rifle ammo, and they sold a lot of ammo, and they decided to get political for whatever reason. You still got shotgun shells and some rifle ammo. I don't think they have 5.56, which I've not bought ammo from Walmart in years. Ever since they started getting into some of that craziness, I quit buying ammo from them. I'd usually go over to my friend's shop or whatever, and buy ammo, and you know, that way it kind of supports them, and you know, and they got good deals on ammo too. Yeah, that's how it is around here too. And they really don't have a lot of rifles in the case. I mean, they'll bring a few out, but they don't have much. And the prices on them, as far as what they do have, you know, it's not comparable in my opinion. I'd rather go to some of the other, you know, some of the gun stores and stuff like that, because you get a lot better selection. Yep, that's the same as it is around here too. And I don't know how close any of you guys are to like a Rural King. I know that's something that we've got kind of in this area. You know, there's actually a few of them within driving range for me as far as a Rural King. Man, they get some good deals on guns and ammo in those stores. And I've bought a lot, you know, of ammo there, and some guns too. You know, that's one way that you know, I like doing those. I like going to those because, I mean, they've got a good selection. And they actually got into a thing a while back. I remember it was, I don't remember how many years ago it was, but they were taking some flack because they were, they had a lot of pressure trying to get them to stop selling guns and ammo. And Rural King just flat out said, no, we're going to continue to sell them. We're going to support rural communities. So that's part of the culture in rural communities, and we're going to keep doing it. And after they done that, like, man, that's the kind of businesses I'm going to support. So, yeah, I'll buy from them. I buy from some of the local shops, and that's what I'm going to do. Yeah, 20 minutes from Shelbyville. That's not bad if they got one up there. I know I could drive there too. It would probably be an hour or so for me to get up there, one in Shelbyville. But yeah, I mean, they got a lot of stuff. I'm sure. Have you been over there before, Terry? I'm sure you probably have. I know they've got a ton of different stuff. I mean, you can order off of their website and have it shipped to their store and then pick up stuff there in their store. And I mean, if you look on their site, they've got a lot of stuff. And I come close to getting one pistol off of their website. And a friend of mine actually was able to get it for me cheaper at his gun store. And this was like several years ago. It was actually my Mark 25. And yeah, he was able to get it cheaper for me. So I just went ahead and had him to order it for me. And but I did come very close to getting one off of their website and having it shipped to their store, but I didn't. I decided to, I'm going to save myself some money and help my buddy out at the same time. So I had him to order it for me, and I was just wanting the gun, and I didn't think that he'd be able to get it, and he did. Yeah. Yeah, I don't go to Rural King as often as probably I'd like to. And it's not just guns. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that we get there. I usually, we'll get bottled water there, just different things. You go in, get you some popcorn, maybe a cup of coffee. And I'm sliding down in my chair. My wife will be sending me a text again here in a minute. But you go in and get you a cup of coffee, get you some popcorn, and get whatever you need. I bought different things from them. Tools. They got all kinds of tools in there. There again, it's a big farm store. Clothes, shirts. I always like the shirts, man. You can get some cool T-shirts for real cheap. Like I've seen some today. I think, well, yesterday we were there, like $6 or something for a T-shirt, and had some kind of crazy design on it. And the only thing is, they sell them out quick. Every time that I find something I like, the bin is usually empty. Every now and then you can catch it, but a lot of times the bin's usually empty. But as I was talking about earlier, I did shut my website down, and just because it wasn't supporting itself. But my T-shirts and stuff, I've moved those over to Teespring, and I usually link those in all my videos for anybody that, any of the designs that catch your eye. That way it's more cost effective for me. There again, you can't lose money when you're doing something, and that's unfortunately what was happening with that website. And I kind of hate it. I wanted to actually grow that, and I'll maybe at some point try to bring it back. But I still have my dealerships as far as like some of the scopes and things that I have. I still am a dealership for a few different companies, including North American Rescue, your first aid stuff. Guys, get your training. Sportsman's near me. Yeah, I used to get their magazines. I assume you're talking like Sportsman's Guide, Sportsman's Warehouse. Yes. I used to get a catalog from them. I haven't gotten one, I don't think, since I moved back years ago. I think it's when I stopped getting those catalogs. But yeah. There's, stores like that. It's good that they're out around. I like going into those stores. I spend way too much money in some of them. I know that, like, we like going like to Cabela's and Bass Pro and stuff like that too. And in fact, I hadn't done a video on it yet, or another video on it. You guys seen the unboxing that I did back on that CMMG that I bought down at Bass Pro when we were down in the Smokies back. When was that? It was earlier this year. And I mean, I've shot it, and I've had it out to the range and shot it, but I haven't made any more videos on it. The only thing I've done to it, I've got a scope on it. and you know, an LPVO. That's just what I like on my ARs. And I also put a hub device on it to where I could run my suppressor. And I've started shooting suppressors, man, and I'm telling you, I'm hooked. I'm gonna have to say I'm hooked on using suppressors. It makes it so much nicer. And the one that I've got, you guys have seen Yankee Hill. You do not get that gassiness from it. It's flow through, blow through, whatever you want to call it. And I don't have any problem. Even on my AR pistol, you know, that's another one I've got a hub device on. And that's what I like about this one. You know, I've got a hub device. I can move it from one gun to the next very easily. And, you know, it works. Different from Sportsman's Guide, West Coast, I think. Yeah, you're probably right. You're probably right. Yeah, and there's a lot of different shops out there. Even some of the different Bass Pros and Cabela's. I mean, you get some differences in some of them. You know, when you go into them, there's a lot of consistency, but then some differences. I know with the Bass Pros that I've been to, I love the one like over in Kodak, Tennessee. I love that one. I've been to the one in Nashville. We went to it back, it's been several years ago now, and I didn't like it as much. You know, it was just something about it. I just did not like it as much. Even though it's a Bass Pro, I just didn't think it was laid out as nice as the one like over in Kodak or some of the others. And I know there's different ones out there and different stores are laid out differently, but that's just personal preference. You know, when I go in somewhere, I guess it's just me being familiar with how things are in different places. Okay. Man, this chat has lasted a good while. I'm glad that you guys are hanging out with me. You know, I was surprised. I didn't think that it would do as well as it's been doing, you know. And I'm going to try to get it to where I've got a better schedule. You know, I want to do some kind of schedule on this to where you guys know when I'm going to come on live. I just got to figure out when. That's on me. You know, I just come in here tonight and just sat down and like, hey, let's go for it. I think we've been going for a little over an hour. Wow. Yeah, and as far as having places differently stocked, and I know a lot of it is going to be what sells in that particular market. You know, you're going to have different things, different markets that are going to, you know, people are going to want to buy different things. You know, some things sell better in some places and compared to what others do. You know, places to where people like to fish more than they like to hunt, obviously they're going to sell more fishing supplies, you know, things like that. Yeah, Smoky Mountain Knife Works is one of my favorite stores. Man, I love that store. And I've spent a fortune in that store. I don't know if any of you guys have ever been out there. If you ever get a chance to go to the Smoky Mountains, you've got to go to the Smoky Mountain Knife Works. And plan to be there a while because, man, it's great. I've actually done some videos on it, I think over on my vlog channel. You know, some of the trips that we've done. But man, I love Smoky Mountain Knife Works. Guns, oh my goodness, you won't believe some of the guns that they have there. And they've had guns there that I've come close to getting a time or two. And my wife said no, it was actually one that she was wanting. And, you know, we didn't get it. It was up to her. She didn't want to think that we should spend that kind of money. And I was glad that she chose not to. But, you know, it was a Kimber Sapphire. That's been something that she's kind of looked at for years. But, man, they're expensive, especially for something that you're not going to, well, you wouldn't really want to carry that kind of gun. But yeah, they do look good. Smoky Mountain Knife Works, yes, if you have ever get the chance, yeah, they got the catalogs and stuff out there. I'm telling you, you will not be disappointed. If you ever go down, have you ever been to the Smoky Mountains? If you have, trust me, you need to go to Smoky Mountain Knife Works. If you haven't, if you ever get a chance to go down there, you're going to love it. I'm telling you. Plan for a few hours. Let's just put it that way. You're going to get lost. You're going to get into the relic room, and the place is a museum as well as a store. I mean, you can get in down there, and they've got a lot of historic stuff down there. They have got one of the thrones. If any of you guys remember the TV, that series, Game of Thrones, they've got one of the thrones down there, and you can actually go sit down on that throne, and they've got one of the swords from that as well, and make your pictures, stuff like that. They got a lot of the swords and things like that from that series, from Lord of the Rings, from the movie, and just a bunch of cool stuff like that. I mean, it's just neat. They've got it all in cases, and of course, there again, they sell you replicas too, and it's literally the largest knife store in the world. That's kind of what they pride themselves on. And I'm sounding like an advertisement for them. I'm not. I have no affiliate of anything with them, but it's just a cool place. I mean, it is just a very cool place. And some of the stuff, I mean, they're Benchmade, Microtech. I bought a few Microtechs down there. I bought a few Benchmades from down there, and just a ton of stuff. A Kershaw. They've got Swiss. They've got just so many, I can't even name them all. And when you go in there, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. And, literally Smoky Mountain Knife Works. Huge store. They got a YouTube channel too, and you can see they're always in there again. They're trying to promote themselves. But for me, man, I walk in down there, it's like, all right, what am I spending money on this time? Ammo. They've got a lot of military surplus stuff down there too. I mean, they've got like bayonets. They've had some of the old bandoleros. I mean, literally, they have stuff on crates in the floor of a lot of their military surplus stuff. And they actually had a bunch of dummy grenades down there too, with a big sign over them telling people not to pull the pins. And it's see stuff like that all the time. And it's not just from America. I mean, it's a lot of military surplus stuff from all over the world that they bring in. It's cool to see it. We still got a few folks in here hanging out. Are you guys ready to go back to work tomorrow? I'm glad. I'm sure that y'all are probably like me and not. I'm glad I'm off tomorrow. I'm actually off, and I love it. But I just got a couple of days of that. I got some stuff I got to do around here. I can get drafted into some other chores and stuff, I'm sure. But guys, we've been going for an hour and over 17 minutes. And I think that I'm going to jump off here in just a few. It's getting later. I do have a few other things I need to do tonight. And I really appreciate you guys being here. And I look forward to doing this again. I'm going to try to do at least one a week. That's kind of my goal right now, is to do one live chat a week, and just to see how it goes. Yep, you have a good night as well. And watch out for everything up there in Alaska. And tell your neighbor I said hello. Again, I'm sure he's never heard of me. Terry, you have a good blessed night as well. And guys, we'll jump off here. I appreciate all of y'all being here, and look forward to many more of these chats. You'll be seeing hopefully a couple of videos come out from me here very soon. I did a little bit of filming yesterday, and I'm going to try to get some videos out. Guys, I appreciate it. I'm going to jump off here. Y'all be safe. Enjoy your week. Be careful. God bless. And we'll see you guys next time.